In this Adobe Photoshop tutorial, we're going to learn how to create custom frames from selections so that we can be super specific in the shape of our frame. The frame tool is fairly limited in variety. We have a rectangle and an ellipse shape, and then we have the custom shapes that we used in our last tutorial. But what happens when you want to frame something unconventional? Here I have a photo of my friend at a baseball game, and I want to fill her sunglasses with toy tigers. For a job like this, our best bet is to use our selection tools, convert the selection to a path, and then convert that into a custom frame. Let's do it. First thing we're going to do is change our background layer to an editable layer, and then I'm going to zoom in here, and I want to circle inside of these glasses and put our little tiger toy inside of them. So I'm going to switch over to my magnetic lasso tool. There are a few things that you need to pay attention to in your lasso tool. Up here is these four icons are the most important. These determine with any selection tool what is grabbed and what's not. This makes one selection. This can make a variety of selections. This one subtracts from a selection. And the last option only selects what has been overlapped between two. The width and contrast are determining how much Photoshop can see. So you can have those really high if you have a nice clean line, like maybe say the edge of this face. But if you wanted to include this hair and things like that that are not so easily defined, then you want to stick with a low number on both. And your frequency simply tells you how many points the lasso will make. So we'll start on one edge and just move around, and you'll see that the lasso does a pretty good job of snapping to the hardest line it can find. Here we can see it's kind of confusing the glare from the inside, but that's fine. I'm not too worried about it, and I'll keep on moving. And I've got a pretty good selection. So here we're going to do a few things that allow us to clean this up. First, we're just going to switch back to our lasso tool, and I'm going to say add to selection again, and this time I'm just going to click and drag around some of these rougher spots, and if I let go, it'll automatically close up that selection. And then if I want to subtract, like over here, then what I would do is go to remove from selection and just select the parts I want subtracted, and that'll do the trick for me. So I'll go back to my magnetic lasso tool, make sure add to selection is selected, and I'll start again over here. And you can click with your cursor to add more anchor points. Sometimes with this tool, you'll find that either you or the tool has gone off track. And to remove previous anchor points, you can just hit delete. But because it's a magnetic lasso, it always wants to grab onto something. So if you find yourself in this situation, the best thing to do is go back to where the line began to veer off and just hit delete until you've closed up everything else, and then you can continue. All right, so when I complete my circle, I have a little bit of an error here, so I'm gonna do the same thing I did before, and we're good to go. So now, switch back to my move tool. I can see that I have a pretty decent selection, but we can't create a custom shape out of this selection. First, we have to make it into a path. Come down to our paths panel and drop down this menu, and we'll say make work path. We'll say okay to the automatic tolerance, and we'll notice that we now have a path instead of a selection. So we'll come up to edit, define custom shape, and we can name this shape classes. When we do, we'll notice that it automatically pops up into our custom shape menu bar. So we're going to click and drag it right over to where we want it, and it should line up fairly easily. Wonderful. Next, we'll go up to Layer New and say Convert to Frame. And suddenly we have an exact frame around the inside of our glasses. Now we'll take our tiger toy and drop it behind our glasses. So you'll notice again, we have these two icons. On the left is the frame icon, and on the right is the image icon. So we want to be selected on the right in order to move this. Oh, I have auto select turned on, make sure that is off. So I'll hit Command Z to back up, and once again select my image, and now I can move them around. But I do notice that when I try to drag another one in, it just replaces the first one, which is not what we want if we want two little tigers. So what we'll do as a workaround is simply hold down our Option key and click and drag the first frame layer, and now we have a second. And now in the second frame layer, we can put another one and move him around as well. And now we know how to turn a custom selection into a path that we can turn into a frame.